There are moments in sports when an entire nation stops what it's doing to watch history unfold. For the Philippines, that moment arrived when Eala stepped onto center court at Wimbledon. Just days earlier, she had shocked the tennis world by defeating defending champion Iga Swiatek, turning herself from an exciting young talent into one of the biggest stories in global sports. Millions believed they were about to witness another unforgettable chapter. But by the end of the afternoon, that dream had slipped away. The final score showed a hard-fought defeat against Jasmine Paolini, but the real story was far more complicated. So what actually happened? Why did a player who looked unstoppable only 2 days earlier suddenly struggle on one of the biggest stages in tennis? The pressure surrounding Eala before the match was unlike anything she had ever experienced. She wasn't just representing herself anymore. She was carrying the hopes of an entire country. Fans packed watch parties across the Philippines, while millions more followed every point from home. Even President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. praised her incredible Wimbledon run, calling her a true inspiration. No Filipino player had ever reached the stage of a Grand Slam in the Open era, and expectations had never been higher. Every serve, every rally, and every point suddenly carried enormous weight. But could anyone so young handle that kind of pressure? When the match began, something immediately looked different. The confidence that had defined her stunning victory over Swiatek wasn't quite there. The biggest warning sign came from her serve, a part of her game that had been questioned for months. Her first serve landed less than 60% of the time, forcing her to rely on second serves that lacked both speed and power. Jasmine Paolini quickly recognized the opportunity. Instead of playing cautiously, the experienced Italian stepped inside the baseline and attacked almost every weak delivery. Suddenly, Eala was beginning point after point on the defensive. That isn't the position any player wants to be in against someone as consistent as Paolini. But why had one of Eala's biggest weapons disappeared so quickly? This wasn't a completely new problem. Tennis analysts had discussed her serve long before Wimbledon. Some even argued that despite climbing the rankings, her serve remained one of the weakest among the world's top players. Her second serve averaged well below the speeds regularly seen from elite professionals, making it easier for opponents to attack. Normally, Eala compensated with outstanding movement, aggressive ground strokes, and fearless shot-making. But against Paolini, those strengths couldn't fully overcome the pressure created by her struggling serve. Every missed first serve added more tension. Every weak second serve invited another attack. Slowly, the momentum began shifting away from her. The strange part is that only 48 hours earlier, those same serves had helped her defeat one of the greatest players in the world. Against Iga Swiatek, Eala served with confidence, avoided double faults, and forced the Polish star into uncomfortable positions throughout the match. Even Swiatek admitted afterward that Eala's serve had caused unexpected problems. So what changed in just 2 days? The answer may have had less to do with technique and far more to do with emotion. Beating the defending champion wasn't simply another victory. It was the biggest moment of Eala's career. Overnight, she became one of the most talked-about athletes in international tennis. Interviews, media attention, celebrations, and constant praise surrounded her. Managing that emotional high is something even experienced champions struggle with. Eala later admitted that controlling those emotions was part of becoming a professional. Those words revealed just how difficult the challenge had become. While the world celebrated her achievement, she still had another massive match waiting. Could anyone completely reset after experiencing the biggest win of their life? Physical fatigue may also have played a role. Wimbledon demands incredible endurance, especially during the second week of the tournament. Eala was seen wearing preventive tape on her left forearm, although she explained it was simply precautionary after a long season. Whether it affected her performance or not, both her body and mind appeared less fresh than they had against Swiatek. Yet despite all of that, she refused to quit. She battled through the second set, fought back into the match, and forced a deciding third set. That resilience showed something important. Even without her best tennis, she still had a genuine chance to win. Standing across the net, however, was a player who had already lived through moments exactly like this. Jasmine Paolini wasn't overwhelmed by the occasion. At 30 years old, she had reached Grand Slam finals before and understood the emotional demands of major tournaments. Earlier in the season, Eala had actually defeated Paolini in Dubai, proving the gap between them wasn't enormous. But experience often matters most when matches become tight. Paolini stayed calm when pressure increased, trusted her game, and waited patiently for opportunities. She knew that if she stayed steady long enough, mistakes might eventually come from the younger player. As it turned out, that's exactly what happened. The decisive moment arrived midway through the final set. With the score balanced, Eala looked ready to hold serve and keep herself in the fight. Instead, several unforced errors appeared at the worst possible time. A backhand drifted long. A forehand missed its target. Then came a costly double fault that handed Paolini complete control. In matches between top players, championships often come down to only a handful of points, and this was one of those moments. Across the entire contest, the total points won by each player were almost identical. The difference wasn't dominance. It was execution during the biggest moments. And that's what made the defeat so painful. Even tennis legends watching from the commentary booth noticed something interesting. Martina Navratilova questioned Eala's serve placement, pointing out that as a natural left-hander, she wasn't fully using one of the biggest tactical advantages left-handed players possess. Rather than consistently creating difficult angles, many of her serves landed in more predictable locations. Former British number 1 Laura Robson offered another perspective, suggesting that without greater pace, riskier placements might have become even easier for Paolini to attack. Their discussion showed that Eala's problems weren't caused by one simple mistake. Instead, they were a combination of tactics, confidence, and execution. Former world number 1 Caroline Wozniacki focused on another factor: experience. She believed Eala's mistakes reflected the natural learning process every young player faces while competing on the biggest stages. Those moments can feel overwhelming until they become familiar. Nearly every champion has endured similar heartbreak before eventually lifting major trophies. The difference is what happens afterward. Does a painful loss become permanent disappointment, or does it become valuable experience? As difficult as the defeat felt, the bigger picture remained incredibly positive. Eala earned valuable ranking points, reached a new career-high position in the world rankings, and collected one of the biggest prize checks of her career. More importantly, she became the first Filipino player in the Open era to reach the second week of a Grand Slam, inspiring millions of young athletes back home. Instead of making excuses, she spoke about learning from the experience, improving the small details, and preparing for the next challenge. Her attention quickly shifted toward the US Open, showing that her confidence had survived despite the loss. Perhaps that's the most important lesson from this Wimbledon run. The biggest weakness in her game is also one that can be improved. Serves become stronger with time. Tactical decisions become smarter through experience. Nerves become easier to manage after enough high-pressure matches. The talent that defeated a defending Wimbledon champion is already there. Now it's about refining the parts of her game that separate great players from Grand Slam champions. Looking back, Eala didn't lose because she lacked talent. She lost because small details, enormous expectations, and an experienced opponent combined on one unforgettable afternoon. For a 21-year-old still discovering her limits, that's not the end of the story. It may actually be the beginning. The questions surrounding her serve, her composure, and her tactical decisions now have clear answers to work toward. If she can solve them, this heartbreaking defeat may one day be remembered not as the moment her dream ended, but as the moment her journey toward becoming a Grand Slam champion truly began.